Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Let Her Cook live on BSCN. I am Jackie Dutton, your hostess with the mostest. And as usual, we are going to do our Monday weekly stream where we talk about some predictive markets on Polymarket and just get into some quick and dirty thoughts about the general predictive markets and things that you can predict on. We don't say gamble. We say that that's not gambling. We say that this is completely different. It's not, but these are the semantics of this world. So we are going to be taking a look at Polymarket. As always, nothing I say is financial advice. Please do your own research, do your own due diligence. These are just my general opinions and thoughts of the goings on and the different predictive markets on Polymarket today. If you are interested in signing up, we have a link that is an affiliate link, and it will take you to Polymarket's site, and you can deposit money and get started on the platform. I do believe that if you are a US user, you still, in order to use Polymarket, I think you need to use a VPN. It's not full-fledged access like Kalshi yet, but that is on its way. They have achieved approval, so I think it's just kind of a matter of time. And I don't quote me on this, but I don't think you would get in trouble just because they've already passed all of their legal everythings. So we are going to get started today and just head to Polymarket and some different predictive markets that I have gone through and just kind of flagged as very interesting. We're just going to put it that way. So the first one I wanted to talk about is a animated film called David, which is the animated film and storytelling of David and Goliath. And apparently they had a very good weekend at the opening box office. And this is just the general predictive bet on how much it looks like between 20 and 24 million will be kind of where that happens. And I think this bet closes today. So there has been a little drama, though, according to conservative Twitter or conservative X about this film. So if we go over to an article about it, it said opening new records for this faith-based angel studio. So they, I think, acquired some rights of this franchise, and I think they're going to make more than one movie about this. But they have obviously, to make an animated film, they've been going at this a while. According to reports, and I'm going to go to X actually about this, and obviously, always take this kind of thing with a grain of salt, but the Riley Gaines, who is a conservative influencer, she was saying that Disney and Paramount are allegedly bullying theaters out of showing the David film. I think this is honestly an interesting take because the story of David and Goliath is about a little guy up against a big, like a big giant. And obviously the smaller studios, this Angel Studios up against something like Disney is definitely a David and Goliath story. So we have kind of some Russian doll meta right now within this story. When I actually Googled this and if this was actually happening, I couldn't find any information about it. But what I did see is that there is a backlog of articles dating back from way earlier this year, like at the beginning of the year, where the director of this film was actually already getting into it with the bigger movie studios. So who knows? I mean, maybe they just had beef for a long time. Maybe this suppression is actually happening, but they are getting influencers and some chatter on the internet to talk about this. And at the end of the day, I mean, even bad publicity is good publicity for this kind of film. Obviously, when you have this kind of a narrative, people are going to be a little more inclined to maybe to go see it at this point. So it'll probably all work out for this film. I'm sure it'll be fine. But I saw even Rob Schneider, the comedian, had made a video about this. So it is getting a lot of chatter. I think the film looks really cute. It looks like a safe one to take your kids to. And it's got a cute animation style, kind of like a Pixar-ish Disney looking new style. So, um, yeah, that I do think the predictive market here of whatever this consensus is probably correct, but ultimately, would it have been more had it not been allegedly thwarted by the bigger studios? Who knows? Another topic here is that the other competing predictive market platform to Polymarket is Kalshi. And Kalshi supposedly is in a little bit of hot water legally with specifically the state of Nevada. So, a federal judge ruled that Kalshi must stop offering prediction contracts in Nevada. Last I saw this, I think this bet specifically has sporting events. So I think they may have like narrowed this down. But obviously, the state of Nevada is home to the city of Las Vegas. The majority of the economy in the state of Nevada is based on gambling. And when you have a competitor like Kalshi come in and really upset the apple cart, where now people don't need to go to the casino anymore, they can just get online. They don't need to travel to Vegas anymore. They can just get online and they don't need to book a hotel or pay, $26 for a watered down cocktail. They can just get on their phone, get on their laptop and go ahead and bet accordingly. There is a huge this is a kind of a side topic, but there is a huge decline in the level of tourism right now in Las Vegas, and a lot of people were trying to dissect like why that is. I could argue it's because they removed a lot of like the cheaper elements of Vegas where you had the high rollers that could come in and they could spend money all day. But then there were a lot of people who enjoyed Las Vegas for being kind of a less expensive experience. You could go to Fremont Street, you could play $5 tables, you could pay $25 and eat at a huge buffet, and the food was decent, and everybody enjoyed the choose your own adventure based on your financial bracket of Las Vegas. But now with all of these major VCs and hedge funds and everybody that's come in and they've just bought out Vegas, raised the bar in terms of the minimum price on everything, all of a sudden Vegas has become actually pretty unaffordable. I would say it's pretty nice. The last time I was there, it's nicer than it used to be, but at the same time, it's not sustainable to charge people $20+ for a drink every single time, to price out people in hotels where it's a minimum of $500 a night. That is obviously not going to spell well for a lot of tourism, an abundance of it. So I kind of think the perfect storm, awful combination of like a post-COVID world where you have these jacked up high, overinflated prices. You could argue that this administration isn't necessarily super tourism friendly. I think they're scaring a lot of people from touring from or being tourists from another country, saying that they'll get picked up by fucking ICE. No, you won't if you have a passport. But I think the scare tactics have been there a little bit. And then you have something like eliminating a gambling industry. We have Rollbet. We have all of these different casinos now on the internet that you can just participate in. You don't need to walk into a casino anymore. And I think that for the people who specifically went to Vegas to gamble, this became a huge apple cart upsetting moment. So, and I don't think it's going to get easier for Vegas if we're being real. So, it will be interesting to see if, and because Las Vegas is notably known for corruption. We're talking about the Rat Pack, the mafia, like the trenches are deep of corruption in Vegas. But we will see if the judges, at least in the state of Nevada, stop the predictive markets just to try and help out and bolster the casinos overall. So we'll see if we can get there. But I just thought that was really interesting to think about from a bigger perspective. Let's see. I just flagged a couple things so we can go through these. Who will die in Stranger Things season 5? How do we know that anybody will? Everybody's predicting that Elle will, but then is no one an option, or was it in the trailer? Did I miss this? Did someone absolutely will? Are they all at a funeral? I don't know. I don't wanna spoil anything for anybody who waited and they wanna watch all of it all the way through, but in my opinion, I don't think it'll be L. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, it looks like no one isn't an option. So people are like, if you're betting on this, you're very convinced that someone will. Okay. Um, moving on. So last week we had a conversation about who the next James Bond will be. And I went on a personal rant and campaign about how it absolutely has to be Henry Cavill. That is the only correct answer. But this bet is just one of those dumb red flags where it's like, did you just bet just to hear people breathe or just see it happen? Because will the next James Bond be British? Yeah. Will water continue to be H2O? Yes. The James Bond has to be British. Whether it's Callum Turner, Henry Cavill, fucking Timothy Chalamet. I think Timothy Chalamet is American, so that's not going to happen. But whether or not it's a variety of British men, it will continue to be a British man. And that's it. He's not going to be South African. He's not going to be Australian. He is going to be a UK citizen. This is just a general yes, it has to be, and it will have to be Henry Cavill. I just need to say that before we move on. Okay. I do want to go over a bet that we talked about last week really quickly, because this is something that you have to be careful of when you are on these predictive markets if you are betting. So this is an example of something that happened, but the devil is in the details. Last week, we talked about how there was a ton of chatter online that marijuana would be rescheduled this year. On Thursday of last week, Trump signed an executive order rescheduling medical marijuana and marijuana in general from Schedule 1 down to Schedule 3. Consequently, this just means that he signed an executive order and it now gets kicked over to the DOJ and the DEA in order to decide and reclassify, which means that Attorney General Pam Bondi and all of the little minions that work there, they're going to have multiple discussions, really weigh the options about whether or not they're going to actually do that. And if you scroll down, because you see this bet, and here's a less than 1% chance, even though this has technically happened, the problem is that you have to scroll down here to the rules. This market will resolve to yes if marijuana is rescheduled down from 1 to any other level or is unscheduled completely by the DEA of the United States. And it even lists the website where they classify this. And it says this has to happen by New Year's Eve of this year. Otherwise, the market will resolve to no. So we all know government, they're going to take Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off this week. And then next week is probably shot to shit as well. So they are not showing up for basically the rest of the year after tomorrow at 5. So this probably is not happening with a quickness per usual and anything that moves in government. It just doesn't move quickly at all. This is a huge gripe for a lot of people. So unfortunately, if you did bet money like myself on this, despite the fact that this happened and you should have won, this bullshit technicality is why you wouldn't have. So lame, devil's in the details there for sure. Okay, so something that's actually going on right now in America is a court case about a kid named Luigi Mangione, and Luigi is accused of shooting and killing the United Healthcare CEO. I think everybody saw this video. It was very horrific. He just kind of bright and early in the morning, point blank, walked up and assassinated this man and then bounced. And supposedly they couldn't find him for like a couple days, and then police ended up finding him in a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is not that far away from New York City, so this isn't like that, it's not like he got all the way to California or something. Having said that, As this case has progressed, and I've kind of paid attention over the last like 2 weeks, I think they when they started trying him 2 or 3 weeks ago, the details that have come out specifically about the initial interactions that the police had with him do not look good. Now, I think they have enough on this kid to keep him, but there are some things, like, apparently, when the police initially got to him, they saw that he had a backpack. The defense, so Luigi's side, has been questioning the police. They asked the police, "Were you worried that he had a bomb?" The police say, "Yes." And they said, "Okay, well, why didn't you then clear out the McDonald's and call in the bomb squad?" Another point of contention is that apparently when the police first searched the backpack, they didn't find a gun, and then he turned off his body camera footage for at least 2 minutes and then turned it back on and then found a gun. It's like, oh god. I I would feel terrible if, this is the guy who actually did this, right? Because regardless of how you feel about justice or the healthcare system in this country, you can't be your own personal fucking Batman and go around assassinating people in the middle of the morning. This is like not how this works. So I would feel terrible if he actually did this and he completely just gets off on shitty police work here. But it's also it is looking like maybe there were some potential Miranda violations. I also heard at one point that he wasn't informed that he was being recorded when they did the initial interview in the police station in Pennsylvania, and therefore that violated a particular right, like the right to record state law. So because that was a violation of his right, then that whole testimony got thrown out. So now who knows like where this is going to go. Again, like we saw earlier this year, if you followed the Karen Reed case, the retrial of her, that came down to a decision of 12 people, and there were a lot of people who got involved in terms of the media. There were a lot of bloggers that drew attention to that, and this particular case definitely has no shortage of public interest, we'll say. So yeah, I don't know if I would ever put any money on this. This also feels like blood money and just like gambling in general and something, but um yeah, I'm just saying, if you go and you look at the details of like his first interaction with the police, this doesn't look like the best police work ever. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. Moving on, just some fun conspiracy theories here. Is John McAfee still alive? I'm gonna say no, but it is interesting that his, like, final message, I think it was a tweet or something, he was like, "I'm not suicidal." But if you watch that documentary, like I did, there was a John McAfee documentary, I mean, the guy is, like, high as a kite. He is oh my god, he is on so many drugs. The documentary is actually pretty entertaining. You should just give it a watch if you like, kind of fairly shocking things like that. But it wouldn't surprise me if the crack finally took full hold of what was going on, or whatever he was doing. But it was a lot. It was a lot. So my firm answer here is that no, he is not. Um Here's a super fun topic here. Is there another Elon baby in the works, and will there be one before June 30th? So let me tell you about math and the human body. Someone would have to be pregnant already right now with an Elon baby. We do know that this man really enjoys the process of IVF and some frozen embryos. So I'm sure there are several with multiple mothers on ice somewhere. Now, will we be surprised with a new Elon baby like we were earlier this year when Ashley St. Clair came out and announced that she had secretly had a child with him in like September of last year? And she said that they had like hooked up over New Year's in St. Bart's. and she managed to get pregnant and then had his baby in September. And they kept it a secret because he was involved in the election and all of this other whatever. And now he's like financially in it with her in some major duke out fuck you match. Um, but will we see another one? We know this man loves to have kids, okay? He is the white Nick Cannon. He loves having children, and he has more than enough money to support all of them. So I don't particularly care one way or another, but do I think that there is actually another one? I think this would be worth throwing 20 bucks at. Just for the hell of it. You're gonna know by the middle of next year. Um, I wouldn't be shocked because at this point he's got other options too, right? Like if it's with Siobhan, the woman who is the head of Neuralink, she already has 2 or 3 of his kids, maybe more. Um, and like they could have hired a surrogate for their own kids. Who knows, right? We don't know, and whoever it is sworn to secrecy right now. Wouldn't be shocked here. Wouldn't be shocked if it's a yes at all. Next up here, okay, we need to talk just about a little college football news, and it's just 'tis the season. It's the start of bowl season we had earlier this weekend, but there has been some major drama around this particular topic in the first place. So Michigan is looking for a head coach because of the craziest crash out of their last head coach, who was Sharon Moore. So if you don't know the details of this particular case, Sharon Moore was the head coach of Michigan, and apparently he wasn't busy enough coaching a full team, managing a staff of a D1 program, spending their whole life trying to beat Ohio State. No, apparently he found if we all have 24 hours, he has 36 because he found enough time to have an affair, hit up girls on OnlyFans, Tinder, all kinds of other stuff. But he had an affair with one of the staffers of the Michigan program, a woman, and apparently in the middle of this affair, he also increased her salary by at least like 35-40%. She went from like $59,000 a year to making $90,000 a year. So he increases her salary because they are sleeping together. And there was an alleged rumor that apparently at one point she got pregnant and he convinced her to make sure she was not pregnant anymore because he already has a wife and 3 children. Again, when I say this man is busy, he is busy. The problem is that apparently the Michigan program finally figured out after they lost to Ohio State conveniently that he was having this affair, so they fired him on the grounds that he had an inappropriate staff relationship, and they got rid of him as the head coach. What proceeded to happen after that is where the real drama is. He apparently kicked the door in of the girl's apartment that he was having the affair with. She was trying to pack her bags and leave town, and he grabs a butter knife and some kitchen scissors and threatens to kill himself. She calls the police. He also is like violently attacking her, threatening to kill her. The police show up and arrest him. So now the Michigan Wolverines are looking for a new head coach. As if it's not embarrassing enough to just need a new head coach, they are now having to look for it based on the back of a really bad scandal. But what I have a problem with, personally, is that for some reason, Kalen DeBoer, who is the head coach of Alabama, is shockingly high on this list. Everyone talked so much shit about Alabama all fucking year. Okay, first it was we suck because we lost to Florida State at the beginning. Then it's we suck because we make the SEC championship and we lose to Georgia, who we beat earlier in the year at their house. And all blah, 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 blah. Alabama sucks. Alabama fell off. Dynasty's over, blah, blah, blah. But now that you need a coach, apparently our coach is more than good enough to be at least top 3 here. What is it? Do we suck? Or is our coach great, our team's good enough, and you want our coach? I just need the narrative to finally sort itself out here, because it can't be both. Either we're all terrible or we're not, because the coach is a huge part of how the team is doing. So you let me know. You let me know. There is no one saltier right now, coping fucking harder than the Notre Dame people. Oh my god. They were in shambles this weekend because Alabama came back from a 17-point deficit to then win the game and beat Oklahoma, and then Miami and A&M played each other. Notre Dame lost to both of them, and they were upset that everybody made the playoff except them. Join a conference. Period. The end. That's it. Okay, we will talk about a couple other things before I wrap this up here. Um, this one is super cute, in my opinion. Brian Johnson, we've talked about him before. Brian Johnson is essentially a living vampire. He is a multi-millionaire, if not billionaire, tech founder. He acquired and then built up Venmo, and then had a midlife crisis, sold it all, nuked his whole life, and decided to devote himself to a life of wellness and anti-aging practices. So he founded a company called Blueprint, and all he does is test himself for health metrics to try and make himself as healthy as possible. And he basically wants to, like, he says, don't die. And he basically is saying he's going to live forever. He recently, I think within the last week and a half or two, he posted this very, very long, lovely thread about how he essentially fell in love with this girl who works for him, and she helped him co-found his company called Blueprint. And I saw his documentary on Netflix. It's called Don't Die. Watch it. It's pretty interesting to learn generally what he's about. But will he propose before 2027? They are very cute together. While I think that being with him would be kind of obnoxious from a realistic standpoint, like, he wants to go to bed at a very specific time. He doesn't want to go out to eat. He doesn't, like, he's not going to deviate from his little plan that he has, but she is the one who helped him create it. So I do think that in this particular case, they will probably work it out. I think they will absolutely be married and and looking towards the future soon. So at least I hope that, because they're nerdy and they're very cute together. And I think that they should. Um let's see here, just one or two last. Speaking of people who are in relationships, okay, we're going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Bill Belichick was the coach of the New England Patriots, and I think he's stayed the coach of UNC, University of North Carolina. Somebody just like gave him a job, and they didn't do very well, by the way. But he has been dating this girl named Jordan Hudson, and she's 26, 27 years old. She's in her 20s, okay, and he's 74. I'm not mad at it, okay? Get it, like, on both sides of the ball, hers and his, because we all know what she's there for, and we know what he's there for. And it seems like everybody's very calm about what that is. But there have been some rumors about the fact that his daughter-in-law got into some screaming match with her inside the coaching office at UNC. And now there's all these videos surfacing of the fact that this girl does an adult cheerleading league, and they do the stunts and big performances and competitions. And Bill Belichick has been attending these cheer competitions, and he looks just as miserable as he did on the sidelines of a Pats versus Giants game. This is just generally this man's face. But I mean, he's there. He's there to support her and go to these competitions. Uh, but as far as this bet is concerned, will he be engaged within the next 2 weeks? No, I don't think this relationship, unlike Brian Johnson's, I don't think that this has stamina or real staying power. I think once they both kind of get out of it what they want, they'll go their separate ways. But having said that, I'm not, you could hate the player, not the game, I guess, but in this case, just don't, it is what it is. Everybody's a consenting adult here. regardless of how funny it looks. And then we'll continue to see Bill Belichick on the sidelines of cheer competitions, which is just so funny. Okay. I think that's it for today. We have hit the half-hour mark. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like, comment, repost, share with a friend. We are taking Wednesday off this week and next for the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday, but we will be back next week, Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern, for another prediction market live stream. And as always, there will be some funny clips of just the individual topics. So make sure you go through, check back, and go ahead and like, share, comment, and repost any of those that you see. I'm Jackie Dutton. This is Let Her Cook live on BSCN, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.